All right. The Mariners avoid a sweep. They actually have a really interesting victory here, one that we have kind of waited around to see. A little bit of back and forth with the Washington Nationals. Mariners only can muster up 2 runs off of 2 solo shots in the first 2 games. Some people say there was a wasted start. We saw Kirby not pitch so great. We saw Brian Wu pitch amazing. We also seen the bullpen kind of implode here, but again, a big comeback. And I would say the big story, if we're looking for a positive coming out of the series, Hanno, it is that we saw. Let's just go to the box score here. We got Julio. 3 RBIs, multi-hit game. We've been waiting for this. We're going to talk about this. You ready to go, Hannah? We're here live on Instagram, YouTube, and of course X, Twitter. Call it what you want. You ready to talk about this shit, Hanno?
Let's do it.
All right.
Get ready to play hardball in the Kingdome.
Take me to the ball game. I want to see the Ants. The Mariners are playing hardball. Did it again and again and again. Did it again.
Princess Tours, the vacation company, brings you the best show in baseball when the San Diego Chicken plays hardball with the Seattle Mariners and the Baltimore Orioles tonight in the Kingdome.
I don't think you usually get to see that video, do you?
No, I just hear it.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about that video? And we've talked about it before. When you actually see the San Diego Chicken on there, does it give you those what's the words that they want to use now? The chills.
I mean, as a kid, I always look forward to going to the Kingdome to see the San Diego Chicken. That was a big deal as a young lad getting to see. I mean, the San Diego Chicken was about the cat's meow at that age. As a fan and as a young kid to go see him perform, it was more exciting than how the Mariners played on the field at that time.
Oh, 100%. It was kind of like always at the very end of the season, right? So like we've gotten through this terrible season, and then it was like a big night at the Kingdome. It was usually like, what would you say, like the night before the last home game of the year? It was on that weekend, I always thought.
Yeah, I don't have that good a memory. I just remember it was like a weekend game, and I was like, "Come on, Dad, make sure you have tickets. We need to go to this."
We need, and he drew. He actually drew quite a bit of. I would say anytime I ever went to the San Diego Chicken game, it was never a small house, and yes, it was something that you were like, we got to go to. I'll put, if you didn't see that in the intro there, you could see there he is, the San Diego Chicken, man, and he would come and he'd pull all kinds of pranks. It was kind of like he was as big as Weird Al. I felt like when we were a kid. Anyways, there he is, San Diego Chicken. Google it. We'll have to. We've always talked about there's a long anticipated episode that we got to do a deep dive on the San Diego Chicken. But anyways, we got some shit to talk about. Actually, before we went on here, we were like, what are we going to talk about? It's probably short, sure, but let me see. Let me get the San Diego Chicken off of here so we can get back to business. There we go. Yeah, Mariners avoid being 3-7 on this road trip. Boy, they talked about it on the broadcast. Quite a swing pivot kind of game. You think about coming off of this road trip, and then look who's been creeping on the come up, like Bone Thugs and Harmony. It is the Houston Astros coming into town for 4. So this was a big game to get, I think, just for the mojo, considering how they have played since Game 3, especially offensively, of Game 3, Game 4 in New York, and then what we just saw here in Games 1 and Game 2. This was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I agree with you. I sure felt like this was a game that we needed to have. And luckily, I mean, it was up and down, got off to a nice start, then kicked the lead late in the game, and then was able to rebound and put a few up lately. So, yeah, it was a must-win game. It sure felt like Washington has given us trouble. I think last year at home, they won a walk-off game. And yeah, it's just one team that we haven't been that successful against.
Yeah, and you look at the box score here, Mariners 10 hits. Nice to see. Very nice to see. But let's scroll on down here. Look, still runners of scoring position, 4 for 10, hitting 400 in scoring position today, 5 left on base. But hey, I'll take 4 for 10 when you're putting up 9 fucking runs.
Well, and you missed one of the most important stats down there under totals. It's the very last one on the right-hand side. It's got a 6. They only struck out 6 times. That was a huge thing. You know, we see this team not put the ball in play very often. And, yeah, major stat for the Mariners. And I believe even Service mentioned that after the game in his press conference.
Say that one more time, not the whole thing. Mariners only get, what's the key stat? Mariners only get what?
They only struck out 6 times.
Oh, I mistimed it. We have a big news alert. There we go. Mariners only struck out 6 times. Oh, no, it's not a joke. This was a reality. Okay, there we go. Obviously, I got the board hooked up today.
Sure do.
But yeah, 6. Let's just dig through this box score here since we got it up on the screen, and sometimes it's a son of a bitch to get it off. Crawford had a good game today, especially that hit late in the game. I know we're gonna kind of jump into this game a little bit more than the other ones because the other ones is gonna be some nitpicking. But Crawford, couple of hits, but that one after the Mariners gave up the score, gave up the lead was key. And then of course Julio knocks him in. Julio was hot today. This is the kind of line you want to see from your star of your team. 3 hits, 4 RBIs. I know did I say 3 RBIs? It was 4. So I fucked that up in the intro. But oh well, it's not going to be the first or the last thing I screw up on this live episode here. And then you look through the lineup too. You've seen Ty France. Ty France had a pretty solid road trip all around.
Yeah, especially with hitting some home runs here lately. I just feel like you're seeing him catch the ball out front a lot more, and he's been able to drive it. Yeah, he had a nice game. Him and Julio accounting for, 7 RBIs today out of the 9. Nice game by those 2 guys who both have gotten a lot of criticism lately.
Yeah, and it kind of feels like the 2021 version of these 2 this week, when they're both all-stars.
Yeah, that seems so long ago.
Yeah, I know. That's how long we've been waiting for a week where if you went and watched through all the offensive highlights, you're going to see Ty France all over this. Dylan Moore also swinging a good bat. I mean, it is frustrating to think that he's our 2-hitter right now. And that's not a knock on him. He's earned it. But would you ever think that he was going to be our 2-hitter at some point, our everyday 2-hitter at some point in the season?
I sure hope not, but I mean, you know me, I'm kind of a big Dylan Moore fan. I like his game. I like that he can play multiple positions. He can help you out in many different ways, steal you a base. But I've always come at the end with a little caveat and said he's not an everyday player, but he's been forced to, and he's done really well. Yeah,
and I just want to pull something up on Ty France. I mean, I look over at Ty France, and it's a little sneaky. But he's already got himself up to 6 home runs on the season, very quietly up to 6 home runs. Well, I guess I can say quietly because we're talking about him right now in this week, but let's just pull this up. You look at his line right here. It's good. His average is still pretty low, 243, but a couple of his home runs been like today. Those were no doubter bombs. I know at one part of the season, what I mean, like a couple of weeks ago, we were getting notes and stuff from a couple of our contributors that he had like the worst WAR in baseball, or it was just all this negative stuff. But if you look at the last 7 games this last week, 292, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, 3 base on balls, the 9 strikeouts, I'd like to see that come down. I think that's obviously a Mariners systematic thing. But Ty France putting together some good stuff, and he's always playing pretty solid defense at first base. We never really questioned that.
Yeah, he's had a lot of action this last series. balls hit right at him. A lot of nice throws to the pitcher. Saw a lot of those in this series, and you always know he's solid at snagging balls from the other guys, picking them at first and saving a error. So yeah, he is a good defensive first baseman.
Yeah. But again, going into this game, I know at the top I said Julio again has 4 RBIs, not 3 RBIs in this game. You know, as Julio goes, the Mariners offense is going to go. And that's because really you don't have any big protection around him. You got Cal Raleigh when Cal Raleigh wants to be Cal. But outside of that, you don't have somebody every day on this lineup. We all know that. But I want to just go to a tweet from our good friend here. He tweeted at us, Chris Copacino. You guys all know him if you follow the pod. He's one of our regular contributors here. And I don't want to misquote his tweet here. So let me just pull this shit up. Chris said this, I think pretty well said. And he wrote this yesterday before today's game. So let's be fair to him. All right. That's the disclaimer. It says Julio's performing well below his standards. I'll say until today. So core responsibility is on him, but it's an organizational malpractice to not protect him with a known commodity, a dude, and continuing to hope the lineup is long with a bunch of roll pieces, ifs, coulds, maybes, and hang-ons. Well said. Well said. And it goes along with your narrative of what's this season all going to come down to, what happens at the trade deadline. And I feel like this week, especially playing 2 of the top dogs in the AL, you are getting and I think the organization should also look at it as like, yeah, it's pretty obvious the Mariners are 1 or 2 bats away from being considered a complete elite team here in 2024. And I feel like this was a good time in the year, just right before June, of going, all right, the league is saying this. People following the Mariners, not just the Mariners pundits, are saying this. I think this was a pretty well-timed display of the team not hitting. I don't know. I guess that's what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah, I mean, Julio's definitely been struggling. You know, kind of could see a little things turning for him. That first home run in game 2 of the series, he's been getting thrown inside a bunch, and he did as well on that home run. You could see him pull his hands in slightly to get the barrel out to it, and he felt pretty good. And then today, they were trying to go inside on him, and this time he really didn't have to pull his hands in. He was just quick to the ball through that, you know, hands were in a good position through the slot and just drove it. And then later on in the game, that rocket up the middle, that might have been even more impressive. He's had major exit velocity of his hits throughout these last 2 games of the series, and he sure does look like he's coming around. It's really good to see, and even Scott mentioned it after the game, you know, as Julio goes, hopefully this team goes. And that's kind of just been the message, and that's a lot of pressure on Julio, and that gets back to the tweet by Kopi saying it would be nice if they gave him some protection and some other people around there, because they sure put a lot of pressure on Julio every day and every game.
Yeah, and this meeting, we heard about it. We heard about it before the game. I don't know if it's the first time that he's done it, but if I'm Scott Service, I mean, I don't know what you're saying in that meeting. I know it's basically like going, you're not doing your jobs. If I was Scott Service, and I know we hear about this all the time with the big debate of like, it's Jerry and it's Scott's fault and they need to go. And I'm not one of these people that's like, you got to fire your manager midway through the season, especially when you're in first place in your division. Doesn't matter. Is it the weakest division record wise? Yeah. But I do also want to say, when people say that, I'm not thinking they're completely crazy trying to tell me that the earth is flat or something like that. And you look at Scott Service, he's been here since 2016. You only got 1 playoff experience. I don't know any other organization that does that. But I also am like, I feel like it is knee-jerk reaction, especially when the players that he was given a lot of this isn't a big surprise. It's not a surprise that Polanco not doing well, and now it seems like the reports are he's getting an MRI. He's injured. Garver just not performing. Haniger already seems like he's been worn down. Like these are all things that I'm not very surprised at.
So you're kind of saying that it's Scott had a meeting, but it's really not his fault. It's kind of the way the team was put together, with knowing that Polanco had an injury history. Haniger's getting old, and could wear down quick if you don't get him days off. And Garver,
Too high of
he has not.
expectations.
Yeah, so you're kind of saying that it's more on the way the team was put together. If I'm hearing you correctly, then correct?
I would say it's more about the team, how it was put together, and their performance, which I don't feel like Scott's doing a terrible managing job. I mean, they brought in, I don't know how many, 50 hitting instructors. So what more can you do?
Yeah, it comes down to the players, and maybe that's what the meeting was about. Do we ever see the Mariners have a long at bat where they're fighting off tough pitches, where they're fouling them off? No, not really. The strikeouts are usually on pitches where they totally misjudge where the ball's going and they're fishing. So, I mean, what can you do? You ask the players to see the ball, hit the ball, and sometimes they're just not. And he can say everything he wants. I think maybe he's just saying fight a little bit harder, just do everything you can. Maybe he doesn't think they're giving their effort, but there's always a chance maybe to choke up. I mean, this is more old school. Just, get a piece of it to see another pitch. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what he's trying to say, but maybe that's it.
Yeah, stop fucking striking out. that would be my note. Stop it. Especially when we get a runner in scoring position. Don't do it. You said.
Yeah, you give yourself a better chance. We all know that, putting the ball in play. So, I mean, it's tough. They strike out a lot, but, case in point today, they put the ball in play, double digits in hits, 9+ runs, just under a half dozen strikeouts. I mean, that's a massive win for this team. I mean, we've seen 50 games of how this team's played, and if they do like they did today, they got a chance. They scored more than 4 runs. But if they strike out a bunch, we've seen how it turns out for them.
Yeah, and I really like how they fought back today. That's always been my thing with them. If they do, now again, they only fell down 1 run, but we saw them hit late. We saw them hit throughout the game. That's something that we don't see. We've seen the offensive explosions here and there, but we haven't looked at a box score and seen checkerboard runs throughout the game. You get a run in the second. You get off of Julio, it was a solo shot, and then you pick up 3 runs in the 4th. You pick up 2 runs in the 8th, and you pick up 3 runs in the 9th.
Oh, you're exactly right. I totally agree with you. When the Nationals got the lead, I for sure said, here we go again. But once the inning was over, we came right back, like you said. And that's a testament to the team for them to fight right back and get right back in this game and take the lead. That was huge.
Huge. Now, we did see in this game the bullpen get roughed up a bit here. Wu got himself in a little bit of trouble. Stanek tried to come in and clean it up. Didn't work out too well. In fact, there was one point in this game before Abrams hit that big 3-run shot. I just had the flashes through my head. Like my life went before my eyes of going, are we going to be talking about Jesse Winker game-winning grand slam when he got just underneath? The way he pimped that swing afterwards, he a typical Jesse Winker, stand there at the plate and watch the ball fly out to the warning track. We've seen that plenty of times out of him, but for a second there, I was like, "Oh no!"
No, absolutely. As Mariner fans, we've seen it before, and we can write these stories ourselves, how former Mariners will come up in critical situations and crush us as Mariner fans. But luckily, like you said, he just got under it, and that was not to be today for Jesse Winker.
I just got a notification that maybe for some reason we're not on Instagram or Twitter. The feed might not be going there. So if that's the case, there's nothing I can really do about it right now. Just head on over to YouTube and check it out. In fact, before we talk about the shit that happened earlier on in the series, and maybe let's talk about how Munoz has come on strong. Let's take a quick little break, and I'll try to get that up on YouTube. Here we go.
Baseball sure has changed, Junior.
Yeah, the hexagon replaced the diamond.
And can you imagine facing 3 pitches?
Emerson on base. Oh, the base ejector caught him snoozing. He goes
Why did
sailing.
it all change?
All sport. The game just got too easy.
The unsurpassed taste of all sport. A third more carbs than Gatorade for energy could make a difference.
Next up,
Your grandson's up.
Ken Griffey the fourth. He connects. It's going. Watch out, center point. Oh!
Center Bush got him.
He was robbed.
All sport body quencher. The game will never be the same.
Well, I can attest that we are on X. I feel like Instagram might be the issue. Sorry about that. I don't have the big team with me. By the big team, I mean one more person here with me doing this. So I'm kind of just we are yeah. So we might not be on Instagram today. Sorry, IGers. We will do better. So Andres Munoz, we only got to see him once in this series, but just looking as nasty as ever. We talked about this before in the last episode. I want to continue to talk about this. He has He has emerged, I should say, into this closer's role. I want to say he's got to be a favorite for possible representation on the All-Star team.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah, he has definitely gotten very comfortable in here after kind of, just feeling his way around in that closer's role. But yeah, he's been great lately.
Yeah, and you even saw today Scott Surface was ready to pull that trigger on that. You get that multi-out or inning out situation going on. Where, I think Thornton, was that who was pitching? No, it wasn't. It was Voth. I'm sorry. Voth, if he wasn't getting that 1, 2, 3 there in the 8th, Mooney was coming in.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I got to give credit to Voth. I mean, he was huge, and not having to bring Mooney out for that last out in the 8th or a 5-out save. I mean, that's the best he's looked in a while. So that was huge.
Yeah, and you talk about he hasn't pitched in 4 days. He's got the arm in him. He's got the strength to do it right now. He's all charged up. But they don't get a day off. They got the Houston Astros 4 games coming up here. I'm going to pull this up, but I did the thing of not looking over at the standings when we were losing, and the Texas Rangers gifted us with a 6-game slide here, but as you sent me a text last night, and sent me what the Mariners and the rest of the AL West has been doing going into today's game. It was Mariners were 7-8, or this was in the last 15. I'm sorry, you sent this 7-8. Texas 3-12. So as the Mariners have been in this 7-8 going into today, let's just call it 8-8 in the next 16. Texas has been on a slide, but you look at and Anaheim's been about where we're at, and it's been Texas and it's been Oakland not playing well, but Houston going into today 11-4 in their last 15 going into today. So that's called playing some good baseball.
Yeah, I mean, and we kind of knew, they had a lot of injuries, a lot in the starting rotation. Verlander's back. They have another one of those guys, their starters back. His name's escaping me. I read that Abreu, the first baseman that they got in a trade from the White Sox that they sent down to minors because he was struggling so badly, has now going to be called up and meet the team in Seattle. So he'll be getting his stuff going again for the Astros. So it'll be interesting to see how well he's figured out. But they just basically got their guys back, and the injury bug is, they've gotten through it. So they're playing well. I mean, I for sure knew that they weren't going to just fall off the whole season, didn't you?
Yeah, no way. That's not what championship teams do. And you still have three guys on that team, a three-headed monster that can just go on a rampage run, especially home games down there when it comes to playing the Mariners in the past. But you got Altuve, you got Bregman, and you got Alvarez. And again, yeah, you're bringing up a Abreu, who's probably going to not be. He's not going to be anything like I would assume what we've seen. I think we're going to see improvement out of him. And Houston is not scared to go out and get what they need. And they have a track record of doing that.
Yeah, and I know you didn't forget him, but I mean Tucker, he is a great outfielder. I mean, I wish the Mariners somehow had him or could pick him up. He's a great left-handed bat, MVP type caliber player. Yeah, they just got guys all over the place, and they just keep repeating, reloading, and re-going. We've seen that from the way Springer's not there anymore and a few other guys. It's just amazing what they have done.
Yeah, and like theoretically, I'm gonna say the glass not half full, half empty. I don't know even. Let's just say the horror story is that the Astros could potentially come in here into Seattle and get a sweep, and they're in first place, and then we're right back to where we always are. I don't think that's gonna happen. Obviously the gap between the Mariners and Houston has closed, and you could even say the Mariners are a better team, but offensively doesn't stand a chance against Houston.
Yeah, if you put them side by side with each other, you're right. Not at all. Not on paper, and not how, we've seen how the Mariners have hit this year and struggled, and that's been their bugaboo. But hopefully it's going to be a better series for us, hitting with runners in scoring position, less striking out, scoring runs, not relying on the long ball. So, I mean, it's going to be a good series. I'm excited about it. But, yeah, you're exactly right. That doom and gloom could certainly come about. But with our starting pitching, even though they've struggled lately and a little bit of our, like you mentioned, the middle relief earlier has struggled, I still feel good with the Mariners coming home to, play well at home here.
Yeah, if you look at their record right here, I pulled it up on here. At home, 15-10 this year, the Mariners are 13-16 on the road. So until this road trip, which you knew it was going to be a tough one, the Mariners were playing 500, above 500, both on the road and at home.
Yeah.
You look at the Houston Astros, like you said, in their last 10, we looked at their last 15, and their last 10, 6-4. They're 10-14 on the road, and they're 14-15. I mean, they're a sub 500 team. Let's not forget that. Still five games just to get to the 500 mark. But I just we've been looking at this. Look at the AL. I mean, if the Mariners were in the AL East, we'd be about 8 games out of first place. If we were in the Central, we'd be, about 7 games out of first place. Both divisions, we'd be in third. Not just for the West, but the Mariners have got to close this gap up for if they do indeed make the playoffs. You're still going to be in that first round without a bye, even if you win the West right now, the way things are looking.
Yeah, I mean, it has definitely been a down year for the AL West. Lucky for us that we're playing above 500 and we still are still in first place. But yeah, I mean, pretty soon we're going to have to turn it on here. We've been waiting and hoping, and maybe it's going to take a couple extra players put on this team for us to really take off. Time will tell.
Now, we were going to talk to 93-year-old Grandma Norma today, but she's had a schedule change. She said she's got a program she's got to watch, but she sent in a couple of remarks today. She said about Stanek, I know he's kind of had a rough go of here lately. I think he was overused, obviously, earlier in the season. Would you say that's fair to say, Hanno?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, the middle of the relief hasn't been that great. There's just basically him and Munoz who you kind of count on. Spire's been a little rough. Sauce has been hurt. So, yeah, I mean, he's been used a lot, that's for sure.
She says, she says she needs to start getting into gambling because every time he comes in, she's gonna gamble against him. I don't know what she says, because I could bet money on this guy anytime he's gonna pitch. What's gonna happen? She also was wondering, maybe he said maybe Julio he's playing better because he hasn't been around his girlfriend wasting time. Maybe that's best
funny.
for him. Maybe they need to manage their time together. I don't know. That's grandma's. Then she asked me when I was coming back to town. I will be back in town in Seattle later this week. Yeah, as far as this Astros series, this is one that man, the Mariners desperately need to get. I use that word desperately a lot because I desperately want to see this, but Mariners need to get back on the winning series. Let's win series, baby. Just win series, baby. Way of doing things, because they haven't won a series here. They didn't win a series at all on the road trip. You lost 2 series and you split one of them.
Yeah, it is unfortunate, I feel like we knew coming into this road trip it was going to be very tough, and it kind of ended up the way we thought it might. Sure, we stole the game from the Yankees to make it us even the series, in my opinion, in game 1, but we kicked a game here in this last series with the Nationals, so it kind of all works itself out in a way, with a long season. But all in all, I mean, I'm not disappointed, but I'm not happy with the road trip either. It's kind of just, hopefully, I was hoping at the worst this is where it would be at. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, we were saying 4-6 was like that was the minimum we wanted to see on this series. At one point, it was going very well. I would say it didn't start off right, but once you got those 2 in New York, again, we talked about this going into Washington. Does everybody expect the Mariners to beat Washington? We said where it was placed in this road trip, it was a trap series, and it damn sure was. And almost were going to get swept.
Yeah, you're right.
You could have easily got swept here. You could have got, not easily, but I mean, it was looking like you were going to get swept. You could have very well got swept in Baltimore, and yes, you had this amazing 1.5% chance of winning that game that you stole from the Yankees. You only really played one game in this series or in this road trip where you got up and you held on to a lead and you had a complete game, and that was game 2 in New York.
Yeah, and I know we haven't talked about it much these first 2 games in Washington, but going into it, you got George Kirby on the mound. You feel pretty good about that. He just had an awful start. Wasn't George got hit around pretty hard, so that's rough. You kind of feel like you have a pretty good chance of winning that game. And then in game 2, you got Logan, who's been really good the whole year, and he did okay. The Mariners gave him absolutely no offense. His pitch count was a little bit low, and Scott decided to take him out. It was hot out, and it was he was thinking that he had pitched enough and that it looked like he was slowing down. So, and then we talked about the middle relief of our bullpen being shaky lately. They were, and you lose that game. So, all in all, you feel like going into those games you're going to win them, but it just didn't happen that way.
Yeah, and hopefully the Mariners can just play overall better on the road. I mean, you go back to the last road trip too. You finish that up with losing 3 out of 4 to Minnesota. So I know that's old news, but I'm just saying, on the road, when they get back out there, it's going to be very important, I feel like, for them just to get a road victory. We'll talk about that on another podcast. But yeah, we got a week of baseball right here in front of us. Houston and Anaheim. Anaheim definitely should take care of them. In the 7 games here back at home, I would be hoping you can, let's just make up a number here. I'd really like to see a 5-2 homestand or a 4-3. A losing homestand would not be very good right now.
No, absolutely. I agree with you. It would change the narrative even more that the Mariners, of what their season is, the narrative, of they would probably be knocked out of first place. The the Astros come in here, do something good, which they quite possibly could. But yeah, I don't want to see a losing road trip at all. And then you mentioned the Angels. We haven't played them yet this year, and they're always just kind of a pest. And it's a little bit of rivalry between the two teams, in my opinion. But yeah, you want to get 5-2 would be awesome. You feel like, okay, we've turned things around after being on this long road trip. Anything other than that, or a losing homestand would be really tough to handle. And, sports radio and platforms like this would all be just changing what's going on, what's wrong, is this a fluke? The narrative would really change.
Yeah, and let's talk about this homestand right off the bat. We'll see if we got some probables. We got Bryce Miller time tomorrow on Memorial Day. Late start for Memorial Day, 6:40 p.m. When I think of Memorial Day baseball or 4th of July or Labor Day, anything that says day, opening day, I would think day game, but maybe it's because it's going to be light out there up in Seattle. It's for till like 9:30, 9 o'clock at this point of this year.
I just think I think you have to have beef with the schedule maker, not to have the Mariners all the way across country, to fly back and then play a day game,
Sure. Okay. Got you there. Valdez on the mound. That's the matchup tomorrow. On Tuesday, still at the time of the recording, Mariners got the Rock on the mound. Houston TBD. Same thing on Wednesday. We're going to get Kirby back out there, hoping to bounce back after his he hasn't pitched very great of late, but I'm ready for him to bounce back. Wednesday, again, Houston TBD. And then the day game, we got Logan back out on the mound. Interesting to see how he bounces back as far as how long he goes into the game. That's a 1:10 start. So Mariners are all set up. We just don't know as of right now who the hell is going to be pitching for the Astros. We also saw a lot of roster moves here this week. I do believe Taylor Saucedo is back.
Yeah, he got he was warming up in that 9th inning along with Munoz. He's back. I just want to comment real quick on the TBDs. I did see that the Astros are not playing games, or maybe it's just gamesmanship. Their whole series is TBD, so they're not really talking about who's going to be matching up versus who. So a little bit of gamesmanship on the Houston Astros.
Yeah, let's not forget, this is, of course, huge for the Mariners. You want to create separation. You want to not let these guys in. This is a huge series for these guys, because if Houston comes in here and gets their asses handed to them, this could really change the trajectory of what's going to happen with them this season. I think this is a big series for Houston.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I feel like it's a big, every series just feels big for the Mariners, but yeah, I agree. It's a big series for Houston as well. Yeah.
Back to the roster. So we see Salcedo's back. Class A, we've seen him back up here this series. What do you think about that move that was made?
It's interesting. I understand it kind of, to bring a right-handed bat up. They're facing some left-handed pitchers. But Raley has been doing pretty good and has a career good hitting against left-handed pitching. And to take him out to put in Class A, it's an interesting move. I see why they're doing it, but I mean, I kind of would like to see Luke get more of a chance, but I'm okay with it. So I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, and you also look at what Dylan Moore has been doing and what Rojas has been doing. There's just not a lot of spots for him either for Urias being up here right now,
Clase or Urias?
Urias.
Oh, I mean, yeah, exactly. With sending him down, yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, and coming off of injuries, he just hasn't put a good stretch together. So I'm all right with it. It doesn't move the needle for me one way or the other, I should say.
Yeah. When you talk about the corresponding move for Clase and Urias, yeah, I agree with that portion of it, definitely.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting what's going to happen here with Polanco, as we mentioned here at the top. Sometimes there's the silver linings and injuries or roster moves. You get more opportunities. Maybe something in the front office changes because of what's going to happen. But it's that hamstring, that soft tissue shit. That's, again, we talked about it. Not a big surprise that this was going to happen.
Yeah, he's got a track record of having, like you mentioned, the soft tissue issues that he missed a lot of games at. It's just kind of typical that after an injury that these players have an MRI, so that's not too surprising to me, especially with him being out for a few games and not getting put on the DL earlier in the week and then coming back and now re-entering it again. So, yeah, he's got a player of a track record of getting hurt a lot. It's unfortunate, but we all kind of knew that this could be the case.
Yeah, and let's hope he's all right. And he's supposed to be a big part of this offense this year, but if he doesn't make a full recovery right now or needs to go on the mend, a couple of interesting moves. Sammy Peralta claimed off the waivers by the White Sox. You also have we just talked about Urias. Maybe he comes right back up. We've never seen Bliss. So that's going to be something I'm going to be watching here.
Yeah, good point about Bliss. He's been doing really well down there in Tacoma. That's definitely an option. Yeah, a lot of scenarios that could turn out for this situation with him, no doubt.
Yeah, and with Dylan Moore and Rojas playing so well, maybe it's not that big of a deal.
True.
So, anyways, thanks again for liking, subscribing. If you have not done that shit, what do you got to do, Hanno?
Like and subscribe, please. Thank you.
Yeah, you got to pound on that shit. Light up whatever needs to be up there. Then when these episodes are coming at you, we made this shit real simple, or I should say these platforms have made this shit real simple. We're going to start to do this more often. Now that we're like fully out of Odyssey and all this and that, we're going to be doing these live shows. They're actually pretty fun, actually. And I feel like we've had some good interactions. Some of the things come in on text, but don't ever be scared to hop on whether YouTube, Instagram, or X. We're going to work on getting it going on YouTube or Facebook for the next show. And then we might add Twitch. Again, also we'll be doing I believe this week, we're going to try to do these more often, some more of those wake and bake baseballs with our good friend DJ Vladdy Daddy, Vlad Perez. Go check him out on IMDb or any of your streaming sites. You'll see him on all kinds of television shows. But we had a good fun time doing that. Instead of just being a Mariners thing, we'll probably just watch day games and just bullshit for a couple of hours. So check that out. I don't know if we're going to start doing that this week or. Oh, what was that? Was that me on YouTube?
Yeah.
There, Hannah. All right. Well, again, thanks again. This is the Rye Bread and Mustard, a Mariners podcast. Also, maybe check us out. We will be up in Seattle, or I will this week. Might be doing a spot start down at our good home base of tacos and tequila and maybe some other spots. So here's how you know where all that shit is. That's what happens when you like and subscribe or jump on our socials. Anyways, let's wrap this shit up. Happy Memorial Day weekend. Remember why you are celebrating this weekend. Also celebrate responsibly. Hope to see you down at T-Mobile Park this week. With that being said, Hanno, you know what time it is. Charge. And this motherfucking shit is a wrap. Hold on. End stream.